Hey everybody, Alan Cox here. Welcome back to part two as we talk about the multi-tenant organization or multi-tenant collaboration, also known as MTO. Remember the last time we talked about just kind of use cases and how we set it up. We did the configuration, we did the walkthrough, and configured the directory sync from our source tenant to our target tenant, or from a member to an owner tenant. This time, what I want to talk about is, what does the end user experience look like? What are some things I need to be mindful of? And just how does it work from an end user perspective? Now that we have our identities, a few identities kind of synced over, what does it look like? How does it work? So that's the focus of the conversation today. So let's get started. All right, here we are back in our target tenant, which we have labeled CBG, and then our acquired tenant, our acquired organization, or our source or member tenant is Contoso. But we are in our CBG tenant right now. It tells us right here we're in the MTO collaboration space. And you remember we set this up. Now, while you were sleeping, I went ahead and synced the other direction. I synced one user, and that was my account, from CBG or the target back over to the source tenant. So we have that there. And that account is syncing. We also, remember, we set up custom labels. So we labeled Contoso as Contoso and CBG as CBG. We'll see that in Teams here in just a second. On the source side, we are syncing over a couple users that direction. So from Contoso over to CBG, we're syncing Megan and Alex over. And they have synced over and everything looks good there. The tenant label is in Teams will show up as CBG, so that identifies what organization they are with. In this case, Megan would come over and it would show CBG, it would show Contoso, and Alan on that side would show CBG, etc. So that's kind of the configuration. So what we want to do today is we want to take a look at the end user experience, what it looks like for the end user. Now, the first thing we'll do is we'll start in Teams and chat. So we're chatting back and forth, having those conversations. We do not need to org switch in those cases. And so we're going to take a look at that. But before we can do that, we do have to make sure that external access is enabled. So in Teams Admin Center, admin.teams.microsoft.com, we go into the users, and we go under, from under the users, external access. We need to make sure that all external domains, or at least the specific external domain that we're going to be collaborating with. So this allows us to chat externally with another organization. Okay, so they are still considered an external organization, even though the users are considered members. The users we're syncing are considered members, which is a key piece of information as to how all of this works anyway, and how it works pretty seamlessly. So you definitely need to turn that on. I have turned on trial tenants to allow trial tenants. You might not normally do that, but I do. And that is because I do have a tenant that I'm working with that is a trial tenant and I've configured MTO on that tenant. So we need to do that on both sides. Okay, so that is good. So then once we're there, if I go into my Teams and I'm in my target tenant here, and I were to bring up Megan, which I've already started a conversation with Megan, notice we have the green light dot, so check mark. So she has presence, and notice here's that label. She's part of the Contoso organization. So she's actually an external member, and it tells us there that this is an external person their message policies may apply to this chat. And that message policy is what I was just talking about, which is the external access. We need to make sure that is turned on. So Megan, conversation with Megan, I can see that she's seen the message. She's replied, thanks. Now, if I switch over to Megan, her tenant, and we can see the conversation she's having back this way with, I'll turn off channels, with me in the CBG tenant. So I, from that tenant, said, welcome to CBG. She said, thanks. I've not had to org switch. I've not had to change anything. Now notice if I go here, we'll see that we see the CBG label here, and we'll see it show up here in the conversation as well. But yeah, we continue to have these conversations, and you know, the old toaster pop-up still works. And so we'll pop over here. We see that, right? So very, very seamless collaboration there. But what if we have a team? What if we do a channel conversation? So I'm going to create a new team here, and I'm going to see, let's see how this works. So I'm going to create a new team, and I'm going to call it, let's just call this one Contoso Acquisitions, is what I've used in other examples. I'm going to do something a little different. Contoso Integration. Let's just use a different phrase here. And this general, I'm going to keep this as general tab, general channel. Now you can rename this channel, but now even on the start of a team, you can create this to whatever you want it to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep it simple. We're going to create a general channel. We're going to create it. So there we go. Cool. Nice work. Done. Now we've created this. So we have this Contoso integration team created. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add a member. And the member I'm going to add is Megan. Megan is from the other organization, remember, but I'm going to add her as a member. And I can add her as a member or an owner. And so that's, and again, she's not a guest. So that is a key differentiator because she's not bound by guest rules and policies. So we're going to add her in here to the Contoso integration channel. Now we could have gone and we could have created private channels and added her in that, but we're not going to get into all of that just yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and we're going to go to her email and see. So she has been added to, that was one we did earlier. I don't need those. I'm actually going to get rid of those because I'm waiting for that email and it may take it a few minutes to come through. I'm going to refresh here. Otherwise, we'll just go and look. Okay, so she's been added to the Contoso integration. So let's go to Teams and let's see if we see the Contoso integration. So I'm going to refresh here. All right, so we refreshed here. We don't see Contoso integration. Let's scroll down here. We don't see it here. And the reason is because, now this I think is going to change, and I think it's going to change relatively soon. But for teams and channel conversations, you do need to switch organizations. Well, how do we do that? So up here, we click on our avatar, and we click this CBG, okay? So we click the CBG or the other organization that we are a part of. If I need to do that the other direction, I would click here, okay? And now notice it doesn't show up here, even though I would technically be also a synced member over to that organization. The reason is because this sometimes has to be turned on. We're going to go to click Settings, Counts and Orgs, CBG, and I don't know why it's not really showing me. We're going to refresh that. It's weird. It's just a slider that turns it on. That's all it is. So we'll see if that shows up here. So we're going to go over here and go to Settings, Counts and Orgs. There it is. And we turn it on. Okay. So now, and it's right away. So now I can switch over to Contoso, but I don't need to because I don't have a channel conversation I need to focus on. My channels are pretty much right here, and that's this one here. So now Megan in the source is going to need to switch orgs because you can't do teams or channel conversations unless you switch to that particular org. Now, I think they're going to change that. I think I'd have to look at the roadmap. I haven't looked in a while, but I think that's going to change. I'm going to refresh one time because it seems like not that long ago I did see it actually pop up where the team would be there, but it's not. So we're gonna switch organizations here. And by the way, if you have let me do this first. If you have a message in that channel, we're going to say welcome to the integration team. Okay, so we're going to post this. Okay, post it. Now I'm going to switch back over to Megan, and I am working the browser version of Teams. This works even better in the desktop version of Teams, the new version of Teams version 2, which I am working on in the browser version of it here. But I'm going to refresh here because you do still get some notifications that there's a message in another tenant. I'm going to see if it actually gives us that. Otherwise, we'll just see what we get here. But I'm going to switch over here. Notice that Megan doesn't have that CBG tenant CBG tenant. It's because I did actually turn that off for her too, but I'm going to turn it on real quick. And now we're going to switch tenant. And Megan should now see that Teams message. So Teams and channels conversations, you do need to switch orgs currently. And of course we can see the message here. That should pop up. There we go. So welcome to the integration team. So Megan say thank you, and off she goes. And so then we switch back over here, and we'll see this conversation going here. But soon, I believe that it's going to come where we no longer need to create or need to switch orgs in order for channel conversations. But that is kind of the way it is right now. But otherwise, Megan could just switch into the Contoso tenant, her home tenant, in order to have those chats. But the channel conversations will not show up unless she switches organizations. That is the way it is currently. Let's take a look at Free Busy. Remember, we turned on Free Busy, so we're in email here. We've got some. Let's see if we got some things on our calendars, and we do. Okay, we've got some. Sure, fine. We've got some time zone changes here, and I want to schedule something with Megan. Now, Megan is in again that other tenant, so I'm going to go into. My email here. As Alan from the CBG tenant, and he wants to schedule something with Megan. So we're going to go in here, and we are going to create a new event, and I'm going to add integration meeting, and I want to add, got it, and I want to add, it's going to be a Teams meeting, and I want to add Megan. Shows up there. Okay, and let's look at scheduling assistant. And notice that we have Megan's availability here. And so if I want to move this out, I can say let's look at next Tuesday. I see Megan's availability across the board. The other direction, we can do this as well. So let's go to Megan. So let's schedule a new meeting. And let's just say test. And this time we're going to say, Alan, I'm going to search directory. And here's the thing. Yeah, let me do this. Let me cancel. I do not have, because sometimes it doesn't resolve at first. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go Alan Cox. Okay, there it showed up. So it just takes a second sometimes, but I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just say, okay, for next Wednesday, but I'm going to use scheduling assistant, and now we'll see availability for both as well. So that works just fine. We can schedule that meeting. So if I were to schedule something from, next Thursday at, whatever, 11:30. I'm available, obviously not available here, but Megan is, and then here the reverse is true. So free busy does a good job at working cross tenant. Now let's suppose I'm going to discard this. We don't need that. Now let's suppose we have us a SharePoint site. So we have a SharePoint site. We get over here, and I am in my CBG tenant, so I'm in the home tenant. Synced users are going to, and I have this portal, this hub right here, and let me re-authenticate. And so we're going to go in here, and we're going to add Megan to be able to access this SharePoint site. So I'm going to go in, and I can do we can do site access. And so we can say, Megan, okay, I can send an email, portal, share, do I want her full control, basically a member, do I want to, or edit or read, so edit would be basically member access, read, I'm going to give her visitor only access, that's fine, so basically read control, and I'm going to share, okay. So now we'll go over to Megan, and she should get an invite in the email. We'll refresh this, see if we get this. There it is. So he's been invited, and so she can go on to the portal. Let's see where this takes us. And she should be able to access that site. So just like that, she has been granted access to this portal, and she is a visitor, so she doesn't have the ability to edit anything. We do have an HR and an IT department here. Be real curious because we didn't do this as a hub. Probably going to get access denied because she doesn't have access to all of that. But she does have access to the portal site, which is what we gave her access to, which is this main one here. Obviously, we can go in and we can do the same thing if we have IT department. And of course, we could do, you could do, target, audience targeting, this sort of thing. So if we're going to go in here and, nah, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. And so we can go in here, we can add a member, and I can say Megan, and I can add her as a member to this one. Okay. And so we'll save that. Done. So now she should get, in fact, she should actually just be able to, let's see if she should get an email for that regard as well. But otherwise, we can go in and she should be able to just access this site now, and she does. Okay. And so let's see if we got any documents in here. Do not have any documents in there. So anyway, we should have a list here. Okay. Yep. So anyway, that's just a little bit of how we can, what the end user experience is to provide this rich, seamless collaboration using multi-tenant organization. And so anyway, I hope we've covered enough, and I hope this has been helpful. Feel free to drop a comment if you'd like to see something additional or you have additional questions. But anyway, I appreciate your time. I hope it's been helpful, and thanks for watching.